What's the DJ?
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Breakfast Bankroll for Tuesday, June 13th, 2023, our weekly trip to Boston with sports wagering and content king Julian Edlow, our second to last show till the fall. Mr. Edlow gets a nice little summer break, well earned and deserved. Today we'll talk some NBA. Hats off to the Joker and the Nuggets. A great story there. Hats off to any of the ECSI VIPs that grabbed the 12-1 that we released in mid to late January here. Congrats on that. But we're going to talk some college football. A couple Celtic hirings, assistant coaches in the building, and a little Patriots, a little bit of everything. Shout out to our good friend, Mr. Connor McLaren. Good morning. Have a great morning, and let's see if we can bring you some good information today. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Julian Edlow.
Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Same old. Getting ready for summer. It's nice. Last basketball game of the year. Maybe the last hockey game of the year tonight. Not that I care. Maybe I have a little bit on Vegas, but yeah, we're getting into that dead zone for me, which means crafting up some baseball plays, tailing ear baseball plays, other smart baseball people I trust, and relaxing. I'm looking forward to Summer League. I will pay a little more attention to Summer League with this draft class. I'll say that. Be watching a lot of those Summer League NBA games. The Rhode Island Rams, TBT, the basketball tournament. We finally got a team in. Take a little future on them maybe, but looking forward to relaxing.
I take it you will not be at UNLV this year for the NBA Summer League?
No Summer League for me this summer. I was there last summer. I had a good time. Obviously, you're in Vegas. I had a good time. But yeah, didn't get quite the coverage that we wanted to get for reasons that I'll stay away from. We had some limitations from the NBA on certain things. But it was good to see players, like we were about to get that Banchero, Chet Holmgren game, and then Banchero shut it down for Summer League. And then, of course, we haven't even seen Holmgren yet. So this year should have a serious buzz, though.
I took my girls a couple years back. We went there for a day, and it was amazing. You watch a couple games, and you run across, and you catch a couple more games. And for a basketball junkie, it was crazy. Good action. And I was very surprised. I mean, as you know, in Vegas, there's so many things to do, and it was wall to wall there. It's just everyone talks about the NFL never stopping. Well, the NBA is in the same exact boat.
With free agency and Summer League, it is. The off seasons get a lot of attention because it's such a, the superstar movement that goes on in the league is significant. So I mean, I don't think any of these last years are even going to compare to when you get Wembanyama's first game in there. That building is going to be packed. So it is going to be cool. That's my only regret, I guess, of not being able to go this summer is missing just that one game. I just want to be there for the buzz of Wembanyama's first game in the Summer League in Vegas. See how he looked. I wish they still had it out here. It used to be UMass, early 2000s, UMass Boston Summer League. I paid $10 to see LeBron's first Summer League game.
The good old days, the good old days. Kind of anticlimactic NBA finals. I saw some rumblings on social media last night. Everyone trying to badmouth how bad Jimmy was playing and stuff, and they brought up the ankle that kind of turned late in the Celtics series. If you didn't have futures on Denver, it was real hard to get in pre-flop for this minus 500, 400, whatever the number was. The exacta 4-1, 4-2 seemed like the play if you wanted to get in there. Closing thoughts on Denver, on the series as a whole.
Yeah, and the way I played it, sometimes the price tag, even laying heavy juice, is a good price. I know people don't like laying minus 200s, but I played minus 205 for Denver to win game one and win the series. And that was minus 340 at some shops before the series tipped. So just a note, I guess, that, laying juice, if it's a good price, isn't always the worst thing in the world. Thoughts on the series, I guess, is that, Denver is confirmed among the elite of the elite in the NBA. Jokic is undoubtedly the best player in the league at the moment. And this team, we forget, like, if you look at their body of work the last few years, they belong at the top of the board in terms of teams to win it all. They come back down 3-1 against the Clippers in the bubble and play the Lakers team that won it all in the Western Conference Final. Then since then, the last couple of postseasons, Murray hasn't played. Porter Jr.'s hurt all the time. So when they have a healthy unit, it would appear as though they can contend with anybody. So I think that's kind of the forgotten thing, because Jokic got the 2 MVPs kind of when Murray was out, that when this team is at full strength with Murray, with Porter Jr., and they don't win that game without Porter Jr. probably last night, they're pretty good.
Is moving forward, as you said, they're Joker, the best player in the NBA currently, and the way that they're put together, the rumblings of them potentially on draft day, what they could do, what they can't do, yada, yada, yada. How do you look at the Wild Wild West a day after moving into the 2023-2024 season?
Not all that much differently than I did this postseason. We'll see what the Suns do with Chris Paul. Will he be back? Will he move somewhere? How will they replace him? But they just sold out for Kevin Durant, so they have to be in win now mode, whether Chris Paul is back or not. Now, it seems kind of weird to be getting rid of Chris Paul when you're in win now mode, even with him being, a shell of himself late in his career. But the rest of it, Denver's gonna run it back. It seems like the Lakers will run it back, and it'll be interesting to see if LeBron and AD stay healthy, what type of seed they are with a full season as constructed, because we just saw them as so many moving pieces all season, and then they finally got it together with that unit and got hot at the right time. So I guess we'll see what they truly are next year. Warriors, I know Bob Myers is gone, but for the most part, they should be bringing the core back for at least one more run. So who am I missing? I guess Dallas is a little bit of a question mark, but they just missed the playoffs. So I think that it's going to be a lot of the same in the West, not meaning that Denver necessarily comes out of the West again, but I think we're going to see these teams mostly constructed pretty similarly. And we'll see what happens this time around. Like, can the Clippers stay healthy and finally make their push? I'm going to guess no, because they never do. But I think it's going to be a lot of the similar storylines in the West. My biggest thing in the West is going to be how the Spurs develop Wembanyama and what type of pieces they can put around him over the next few years, because there's no reason that Wembanyama can't be a better Jokic in 3 years. So that's the storyline I'm most curious about, because Wembanyama is probably the best draft prospect that the NBA has seen.
What about the young guns of, like, say, OKC and New Orleans?
Yeah, OKC is interesting. They should, develop. We'll see what Holmgren looks like. I'm not high on Holmgren. I don't think he's at all like, oh, he's kind of like Wembanyama. No, he's slower. He doesn't have the same skill set. So I'm not a Holmgren guy. I don't think that's going to be the superstar piece that puts them over the top. I think they need more. I do like Jalen Green. Who am I thinking of? Jalen Williams a lot. So they're probably a piece away, and I don't think the piece is Holmgren. So we'll see what OKC is. And then New Orleans is just a mess. Is Zion ever going to be healthy? And then his name's in the news for a lot of different reasons right now. They just bought in on CJ McCollum, and then like, is it going to work? So I don't. New Orleans is a big question mark for me. And now you have the Shams reports that they're going to go after the second or third pick to get Scoot Henderson, which is just a whole new rebuild. So I have no clue. I have no clue what New Orleans is going to do. OKC has a direction. They're going to keep stacking up those picks, using them and trying to build. And eventually they just need to hit on one more with SGA, and they have the role players. So they could be a good team. And I could always be wrong on Holmgren, and then, they've got their piece, but I don't think he's it.
We'll go back east to the locals. They add another piece to the staff. It was funny when they hired Sam, all the locals, oh, he checks every box. It's the perfect fit. Now in comes another piece, and he's the guy that should have taken over the Bucks. Thoughts on the new added bench piece?
He probably is the guy, Charles Lee, that should have taken over the Bucks. So how do I say this? Celtics haven't done anything wrong this offseason. I like every move that they've made. It's just going to take, I think, a little bit, nothing crazy, but something done to the roster. I keep using names like PJ Tucker, Draymond Green, Dylan Brooks, not in terms of skill set or anything, just that type of attitude, that type of mentality. They need to add some players, veterans like that play like that, play a little angry, play a little dirty, whatever you want to call it, not just relaxed. But I like the moves for the coaching staff. Sam Cassell is going to, light a fire a little bit under some of these younger guys. Charles Lee is a great mind. My worry is, again, and we know Brad Stevens is going to stick with Missoula. That's his guy. But like, everybody working under him is going to be more qualified for the job that he has. And he got it because of, unique circumstances. So that's always going to be lingering. But yeah, they need to sign some players that match the coaching mentality of Sam Cassell, to be that team that wins it all. And just kind of the last Celtics thought, I know the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum situation is always going to be a storyline. And what do you do with Jaylen Brown? I maintain you don't force him out the door in any fashion, and you still have a couple years that you can use them together and then get rid of Brown if you need to. There's a lot of routes you can go here, but it is a little bit of a reminder watching the NBA Finals how well Murray and Jokic play off each other, and how that style wins a championship that Tatum and Brown just don't have. They can't play off each other that way. They're very talented, and they can get you to an NBA Finals like they did last year and like they should have done this year. But if that deal ever were to come about where you swap a Jaylen Brown and more or whatever for a Karl Anthony Towns or who's a point guard, not Lillard, because he clearly said he doesn't want to come to Boston, but I don't even know. But a point guard or a center that can play off of Tatum and with Tatum, I think that you do have to do that because of, their ceilings are being limited by taking turns versus playing with each other, which we just saw with Denver.
Well, I'm going to circle back, and the funny thing about Lillard and all the locals like we'll do it today or tomorrow is the fact that Lillard will be making $60 million a year. So you want to pay a 33-year-old guy $60 million, but you won't pay someone just getting to his prime, light years younger, $59 million.
I think they will pay him that. I don't think that's the I don't think that's the issue, is the age. I think the issue is Brown worth the contract, which the answer is probably no. Do you have to give it to him? Probably yes. And the fit. I think it's just the quality of the player and the fit, not the age. Like the window is now for the Celtics. So if they, let's say Lillard said, "Oh, I would love to play with Jason Tatum in Boston," and the Celtics felt they could win with a Tatum Lillard combination now, and the right assortment of role players around them, then do it. But I don't know if that's the right fit. And Lillard has been very clear. I don't know why people are still talking about Lillard to Boston. Lillard has been very clear. That is a no for him.
Let me ask you, let me go back to the Suns for a second. They, all this past week, Chris Paul will be released or whatever. You brought up Aiden. You brought up the fact that, they went all in with KD. They got KD. They got Booker. I know Jason on draft day made it clear he would have loved to play with Booker in Phoenix. But again, we're not talking Jason. We're talking Jalen here. I'm asking you, would it be out of the realm of possibility an Aiden, Paul, and draft picks for a Jaylen Brown?
That's out. Yeah, that's definitely out the window. You don't give Jaylen Brown for somebody that has very minimal time left and is no longer playing at an all-star level. So I'm a hard no on anything involving Jaylen Brown for Chris Paul. Add
an Aiden with him. Because they're going to release it.
Yeah. Okay. So if it's just Chris Paul, I'm in, which I think a lot of people are against because, the Celtics have a losing mentality. You're adding a guy that's a career-long loser. I am in under a couple circumstances. Number one, and the Celtics desperately need a younger big man to eat minutes because Grant Williams could be on his way out, or the Celtics are going to have to pay him a lot. Horford's aging. Rob Williams is never healthy. The Celtics need a big man that can eat minutes. Don't make that guy DeAndre Ayton. Okay. Now you're hitching your wagon to a younger guy that is, I think, of a losing mentality and is not going to be able. You're not going to be able to win with. So don't make this some package deal for Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. No interest in Ayton. Now, if you can bring Chris Paul in at the right price as an addition, and you're getting rid of whatever. One of the guards, not Derek White. I'm okay with it. You could start him. You could bring him off the bench, whatever you want to do. I just think sure, Chris Paul hasn't won yet, but he's also never been the third or fourth guy on a team with this level of talent. It's always been the Chris Paul led teams can't get there. So I think in a more complementary role, Chris Paul would be fine. He brings them things that they don't have in terms of ball handling, moving the ball. He can shoot the open threes, which fits their philosophy. He's not a volume 3-point shooter, but he'll shoot the open ones. I trust Chris Paul's style of play to help them on the floor. And some of these, Chris Paul hasn't been able to get over the hump, but some of these late game meltdowns individually, I trust Chris Paul's skill set to be able to prevent that unraveling. So yes, at the right price, I'm against the grain here, I guess, and I would be in on Chris Paul.
I mean, you brought up Cat. I am a huge Cat fan from when he was in diapers and in college. I would love to try to finagle the bagel for Cat. Last question on the NBA with Jalen, and you talked, I think, last show about a date, July something, for where they could actually sign Jalen to the Supermax. Is that correct?
Yeah, I forget the actual date. It's in July. I think it's early July.
if the long term was, hey, we got to sign him and it gives us more leverage. If the long term was, hey, we're going to sign him, we'll see if he wants to force his way out, yada yada yada. If they ended up signing him to that 290 deal and traded him, would that free up them to be able to bring someone else in or pay someone at that price?
Well, the contracts have to essentially match in a trade. So the new
Okay.
person that you would be paying would be who you bring in that trade, which with what Jaylen Brown's getting paid would obviously be a big time player. And the team receiving Jaylen Brown is getting, an all NBA player signed under contract for a decent amount of time. So it would have to be, that swap for identifying who you want to bring in for Brown and making a trade to a team that values Brown to be their star.
And we're going to go through this same process, 2 years later with Tatum as well, who's going to be able to get like 310, correct?
A year later,
A year
I think.
later. Okay.
Yep. And
All right.
he will be in the threes. That's a no-brainer. You just pay it and keep going.
Okay. OTAs, Bills on and the TV and the viewing lounge as we speak right now. Hearing any rumblings back at Patriots camp, again, I think DeAndre was supposed to come in tomorrow or Thursday. I think it's all a PR move, but supposedly the Pats are the one team that has offered him the most so far. But I mean, I can't see him not just using the Titans and the Patriots and figuring out, is it the Bills? Is it Kansas City? But any Patriot thoughts?
Not really. I guess the only disagreement I'll have with you is I think that they are actually in contention for Hopkins. I don't think they'll ultimately be the team that lands him, but I think they're in contention. I think they would like to have him. I think he would consider coming here, but I don't know if it'll all match up and wind up being the best landing spot or even the highest paid landing spot, even if they are rumored to be offering the most right now. So, yeah, I would be surprised if it happens. And if it did happen, I mean, I don't think Hopkins is worth ticking that win total up at all. Maybe the juice shifts 10 cents or something, but the number, the 7.5 isn't going to move.
Have you done, it's been a week, any additions or anything catching your eye in the NFL, any division winners, any conference winners, any rookie of the year, whatever? I mean, there's a bazillion things in the DraftKings sportsbook. Anything caught your eye this past week?
Nothing new. I have the Niners minus 150 and the Saints plus 140 as my two division bets. I'll have articles up on those over the next 10 days or so. But yeah, that's it for me so far in NFL. I think those two teams are a pretty solid cut above the rest in their divisions. And hopefully I'm right.
Bases. We were talking before the show backstage, and we were talking about the prop market for the ECSI VIPs. Yes, we dove into the prop market starting last week for the first time, added a new source, did some homework, had great success. Last night, not so lucky, of course, to start the week, but been following you and your thoughts in the prop market. So give us what you've been seeing, what you're eyeing, the do's and don'ts and the whys of the lovely, lovely sport of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, the major ones that I've been playing are the pitcher win props, and DraftKings is one of the few places that you can find them, and DraftKings generally has the best prices on them. So I got my ass kicked yesterday. I'll just be back for more and hope that the tide turns, but some of these prices, so the Rangers go off minus 155 at home against the Angels. But Dunning, the starting pitcher, is plus 255 to record a win. We're talking $4. That's a lot of difference in juice. So I think the reason for that difference, which I said to you, is that Dunning's outs recorded prop was 15.5. So they think it's going to be tight. Is he going to pitch the 5 innings he needs? Now he did. He had a 5-1 lead in the game, and he pitched 5 innings, and he left the game with a lead. And he didn't record the win because of the comeback that the Angels had. So that's tough luck there. But if you laid minus 155, you also lost. So I lost. I bet half a unit on it, but let's call them all 1 unit plays. I lost 1 unit. If you bet the Rangers on the money line, you lost 1.55 units. So I guess the silver lining here is that I lost a little bit less than if I just played the game straight up. But had the Rangers won the game, they likely just hang on to that lead, and now I'm cashing plus 255. So it didn't work. You know, I've had bad luck the last few days. I feel it's easy to say your own plays are bad luck, but like Julio Teheran, the old Braves pitcher, he's back with the Brewers. He was a minus 190 favorite against these A's that keep the A's are a huge reason right now why I'm losing money. He was a plus 230 or plus 240 to record the win. He pitched 7 innings and allowed 1 earned run. If you tell me he's going to pitch 7 innings and allow 1 earned run, I'm going to double the bet. The Brewers didn't score against the A's. So, like, I think there's a lot of value in these where you get $3-4 in difference in juice for the pitcher to record a win. And, you know, over the course of time, those wins are going to add up where you can afford a couple losses like this the last couple of days. So that's the market I have my eye on. That's what I'll be playing this summer. It's a new-ish market they had the last couple of years. So now we'll see. I'll be tracking it all summer. We'll see if it winds up working.
So if you go into DraftKings Sportsbook, you pull up MLB. Now, where is everyone going to find all these exotic props?
So if you go to pitcher props, it's going to take you to the most popular one off the top, which is strikeouts. But next to strikeouts, it's outs recorded, which I also like a lot. I don't know how many runs he's going to score. I don't know if they're going to lead after 5 innings, but I feel like this guy is or isn't going to pitch this long into the game. That's one that I like. And then right next to outs recorded is going to be pitcher to record a win, which you can also bet the no on, by the way. No's are pretty juicy, but you can bet it that way as well. So, pitcher to record a win and outs recorded will be right next to pitcher strikeouts, and you can go from there.
And then the assumption is then there's also batter props. You just go to batter props if you're looking on the offensive side, and they'll break them all down as well.
Yep, batter props right next to pitcher props, right where it should be.
All right, let's go over to the pigskin and let's go to the college ranks. It's going to be funny because when I see this, you scratch your head, and I'm just going to bring up Georgia, 2-time defending champs. And when you look at their schedule, everyone's just trying to – I think it's week 11 at Tennessee will be their supposed first scare of the year where they'll probably be 6-point favorites at Tennessee or more.
More, I think.
Yeah. But my point is when you see teams with, back in the days, Alabama was like, who's going to beat them? No one, and then they get to the SEC championship and there they are in the Final Four. There's a lot of teams, I think, this year that can get to the Final Four. I don't understand the Notre Dame price. I think the addition of Hartman is someone that they've been waiting for a long, long time. Now, I haven't dug deep enough, but there's got to be reasons why you're getting an amazing number for them just to get to the Final Four. I wanted to lean on you today, because we have broken down some Pac-12 teams and some of the teams that you like. And what are you seeing right now in June 13th?
Yeah, so LSU and Washington are the teams that we've covered. I like those teams a lot. I have LSU at plus 600 to win the SEC because I think they're going to win that West Division over Alabama. I've played them plus 7.5 in that game against Alabama. So, excuse me.
God bless.
I don't care if you want to, even if you bet LSU, I don't care if you want to bet Georgia still to win the SEC as well, because they're going to be in the game. And once they're in the game, they're going to be, what are they, minus 110, minus 120. They're going to be much heavier favorites. So, like, they're going to be there. I think it's fine to offset it with some Georgia now and figure the rest out later. But I do think LSU is going to best Alabama in that West Division. So, Alabama's win total 10.5. If you bet it early on the under, I like that move, but now it's very heavily juiced. I don't know which two games. LSU hopefully is one of them, but I think there's a couple games that they'll drop. They dropped a couple games last year with Bryce Young. The team is essentially the same, except just you downgrade from, elite quarterback prospect to meh. So I don't know how that means that they're going to be, a 0 or 1 loss team. So the way that I like betting it better is just Alabama minus 165 to miss the playoff. Because even if they do play in that game against Georgia, let's say they lose one regular season game and then they play Georgia in the SEC championship game and lose that, now you're a 2-loss team, and no 2-loss team has gotten in. So I think it gives you an extra out by betting them to miss the college football playoff at the same price as under 10.5 wins, because it gives you that one last chance to go 11-1 and then lose the SEC title game and still be out. So that's how I'm handling Alabama. And kind of like this Georgia overtaking Alabama situation, Michigan's overtaken Ohio State. And like Alabama, you now downgrade from, I know you have Marvin Harrison Jr., but you now downgrade from CJ Stroud to whoever winds up winning that quarterback job. Michigan's knocked them off 2 times in a row now. This year's going to be at the Big House. Michigan's still plus 180 to win the Big Ten. I like that. I think they're going to beat Ohio State, be in that game again, and be, the usual 14-point favorites against whoever comes out of the other side of the Big Ten. So I think it's a good price on Michigan.
I saw someone, Matt Peralt was talking about Michigan to Dave yesterday during their show, so it kind of caught my eye, and we were talking earlier, so that was kind of a nice lead in there with Michigan. He has built an amazing program the last couple of years. They've been knocking on the doorstep, and both years, beating Ohio State. Now you're saying it's back in the Big House. It is a quarterback factory over there, though, and they do have the best wide receiver in the game with Marvin Harrison Jr. Just because it's at home, or is it just the actual depth, you think, this year? There's a changing of the guard?
I think I'm probably behind on the changing of the guard and should have identified it earlier. But yeah, I mean, Michigan brings a ton of pieces back. They lost some pass catchers, but I'm sure they'll be okay there, and they're still, replenished at the important positions. So I mean, they went to Ohio State and dominated them last year. And they're bringing that whole running game back, quarterback back, bunch of the defense back. I just think they're the better team. I'm probably a year late here, but I also don't think it's ready to switch back yet to Ohio State. So it'll be Michigan for me there.
As you said, the NBA's done. We potentially have the NHL done. We're getting close to, quote unquote, those dog days of summer. I always close by asking you, is there anything in the promo world? I know the U.S. Open's this week. I think you got a boost up for the U.S. Open. Father's Day weekend on Sunday, obviously. What do you got cooking for us this week, Jules?
Let's see. Tonight, if you're a hockey guy, 25% boost on your same game parlay. They do have the odds surge for the U.S. Open. So if you're a golf bettor, add plus 300 to any golfer you want. So if you're betting somebody plus 1,500, you got them at plus 1,800 now. So worth doing that. If you're going to bet somebody, bet them on DK Sportsbook. Same thing for the first goal scorer tonight. If you're going to bet somebody, you can add plus 200 to them. If that's a market that you want to bet. Let's see. That looks like all the boosts we have right now. They'll probably do a little bit more with golf, I would imagine, as that gets closer. But yeah, right now the hockey boost and then the surges for both hockey and golf.
The scroll has been going the whole time. If you're not following him, please do go over to Twitter at Julian Edlow. You can see his work at DraftKings, at DK Sportsbook, at DK Live. Go check out his podcast at Unreasonable Odd Podcast. Jules, always a pleasure. Next Tuesday, your last show before summer break, we'll be talking the NBA draft. How's that sound?
All right. Sounds good, Jeff.
Thanks, Jules. Have a great weekend. Keep an eye on your email later this afternoon.
Waiting for those MLB props.
All right. You take care. Have a great day.
Take care.
The one and only Julian Edlow at Julian Edlow. Great, great friend, great colleague, doing big things right down the road here. Later this afternoon, I know at 5 o'clock, Riley Magnuson will be doing the closing bell. My goal is to help him be his co-host. At 8 o'clock, there is a time change. Tonight, 8 o'clock, Brady Cannon will be breaking down the U.S. Open. Make sure you get here for that. Shout out to Connor. Have a great morning. Everyone else watching and listening do as well. The gentleman behind the glass, Mr. Ben Cohen, Mr. Joseph Shea, Mr. Cade Horton. Shout out to you guys. Great work. Great feedback on the facelift that you're giving us. We can't thank you enough here. So everyone from the ECSI team, have a great morning. Behave yourselves, and we will see you soon.